One thing I love about the disturbing film genre is that it doesn't need to show anything over the top or demented in order to make the audience feel unsettled. The same amount, if not more shock, can be delivered through subtlety and relatability. Many times it's going to be those films that seem like, this could happen in real life, or you feel any type of connection with. Those are the ones that have the most lasting impact. One film that strongly emulates this factor is the French film Fat Girl, released in 2001. It's not as well known as it should be, and it's definitely a hard to watch film that will hit home with many of its viewers. So this week I'm going to pay a little bit of tribute to this forgotten gem and give it the recognition it very much deserves. So thank you so much for tuning into Rabbit Hole Entrance. Let's waste no more time and get to the video. The story revolves around a very depressed 12-year-old girl named Anais, who alongside her older and beautiful sister Elena explore their sexuality. Currently they're on vacation in a pretty rural area and decide to go out to the city to see if they can find any guys to have some fun with. Just at the beginning of the film, the dialogue is already pretty strong, with them talking about sex and assaulting each other as loving siblings always do, you know? When arriving at a restaurant, they meet an older attractive college boy named Fernando from Italy sitting alone. Now he's obviously interested in Elena, and just to rub it in Anais' face, she flirts with him the entire time. And with very little introduction, they already start exchanging saliva, while Anais tries to enjoy her sundae. And trust me, this scene doesn't just fly by. We get a very healthy amount of viewing these two make out, while Anais is just trying to enjoy her ice cream as this is happening. Any minute now they'll be done. Any minute. Now guys, I have done my fair share of being a third wheel, so believe me, from an expert's opinion, this is probably the most realistic viewing of being a third wheel I have ever seen. Now this can't be legal, because Elena's only 15 years old and Fernando's in his 20s. This cannot be allowed in Europe, right? I'm pretty sure Chris Hansen would have something to say about that. But if it wasn't bad enough for Anais, they just end up ditching her to walk alone, and then she has to wait by herself for Elena to return so their parents don't end up wondering why they didn't return together. And yes, that basically sums up the type of relationship these two sisters have. And trust me, it's not like the parents are going to be much better than Anais either. Now Anais and Elena's father is a man whose mind is always at work, and they have a mother who is extremely laissez-faire with her role. Now it's not that they're terrible human beings, it's that they clearly have never made any type of investment to be involved in their daughter's lives. The dad seems that just because he has money, that he doesn't need to provide in any other way, and the mother thinks that everything is a phase and will just pass. Like Anais' eating disorder and how rude Elena can be to her sister. Just because you have rich parents, you get to go out on vacations, and you have all the food in the world that you need, that does not mean that you live in a good environment. It could still be very toxic. Anais is a sad yet special character, who we see in an age where she is still trying to figure herself out and understand her own feelings. What she wants most is to be considered beautiful by everyone, to be desired by men, and find love. Which most of those things in her eyes, Elena does have, and Anais only has the privilege to watch her sister enjoy them all. I mean, it can be like that for the rest of us. I still remember being this age and wanting to find my true love. I was similar to her, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
N'est-ce pas que mes lèvres sont douces et que j'embrasse bien? Oui, tu es mon fiancé. Mais je ne veux pas me marier tout de suite.
Okay, maybe it wasn't entirely like her, but to each their own, right? Now not too long later, Fernando's going to sneak in and have sex with Elena. All the while, Anais is going to be in the same room as this is going down. Just what? Why is any of the three okay with this? But this is Elena's first time, and while they're both being romantic and whatnot, she's still very nervous about doing it with Fernando. And shockingly, her little sister being there in the same room has nothing to do with it. Fernando's obviously getting pissed off. He's coming up with any sweet words just in order to seduce her. But unfortunately for him, and I mean that sarcastically, she says no. Which makes him come up with the perfect proposition that she can remain a virgin if she lets him do it from behind. Which after a lot of begging, she does eventually give in. Because obviously if she says no, even 20 straight times, you keep pressuring her over and over again until she says yes, cause that's obviously how consent works, right guys? Seriously, Chris Hansen, please, it'd be a great time for you to drop in and stop this from happening. But all joking aside, this scene is really powerful. The runtime leading up to this scene was just 13 minutes, but this moment in the bedroom takes about just as long as all of the previous scenes combined. And there is no music playing at any time, and the sexual tension between Fernando and Elena feels very real. while the awkwardness of Anais being there and her mind full of curiosity is what makes this quite disturbing. It was a great choice from the director and the screenwriters to make this scene very long and drawn out, and while it may be that, it certainly was not boring to watch. And this, my friends, is the chief quality of the film. The overly simple plot is not important, it's the unfolding of Anais and Elena's characters throughout the film. We go very deep in their minds and see them express themselves very openly and bizarrely. Anais is by far the more interesting of the two. In her moments of self-reflection and when we see her character develop, she actually doesn't speak much. It's her facial expressions alone that can tell you all that needs explaining. Most of the time, it's a face of depression, despair, and loneliness. She's very easy to understand because her character is well created to a real teenager. It's what makes us all relate. It's pretty crazy to see that this degree of negative emotions has already consumed Anais at such a young age. But I mean guys, she's on her own with this. Elena will show acts of kindness here and there, but when it's time for her to be a real sister, she's always a no-show. The settings of whenever Anais is on her lonesome is also perfect. The environment can also reflect how she is feeling. And the last part, she likes to sing this really depressing song whenever no one's around. Just listen to a few lyrics of it.
J'ai mis mon cœur à mourir sur le bord de la fenêtre. J'ai confiance en l'avenir, les corbeaux viendront peut-être. De leur bec jaune et pointu, ils ont de quoi se repaître. De ce bout de viande crue dont vous croyez le maître.
Jeez, calling that song depressing would be an understatement. I'm not gonna lie, after watching the movie, I went on the internet hoping to find the original version, but to my shock, it was actually the director that wrote that, specifically for the movie. It's quite fitting though. Now while I may not like the character of Elena, she's still just as important as Anais. We all know the film as Fat Girl, but the French title Ma Soeur translates to my sister. But I guess those of us in English-speaking countries are pretty heartless and we just wanted a more messed up name. If you go on the Criterion website, the description of the movie starts with 12-year-old Anais is fat. Her sister 15-year-old Elena is a beauty. I mean, Jesus, Criterion, take it easy, will you? Anais seeing Elena explore her sex life, being manipulated by an older guy, or giving her virginity to someone she only met a day ago is a huge factor. Elena's experiences influence Anais just as much as her own, and the quiet envy Anais has for her sister because of what she gets, what she looks like, or how different she is treated also is what makes the film so impressive. One thing that really disturbs me with this film is how her eating disorder is either ignored or exploited. Her dad couldn't care less, since it's not going to make him any money to find out why his daughter's eating so much. Her mom thinks it's a hormonal thing and it'll just pass. What a dumb bitch. But Elena knows what's really going on, and she will exploit this eating disorder to get her to shut up about her depression or to help her get out of trouble. In this scene right here, she is dead ass crying in front of her family at the dinner table, but Elena will just stuff bread in her mouth, and her parents will be relieved since they don't have to hear her anymore. I'm sorry, but this in my opinion is abuse. I know this isn't going to leave a bruise or a scar, but can you make it any more obvious that you do not care about your own daughter? Now guys, I know I'm coming off very condescending toward Anais' character, but guys, this is not my point of view. What I find beautiful, attractive, or unattractive in a woman is that of my own. It is not aligned with this film at all. This is purely the narrative of the director. I just thought I really needed to clarify this before I continued. Now the turning point of the film is that both Fernando and Elena's parents find out what has really been going on between them. And on top of that, they got freaking engaged. Yes, he gave her a ring. A ring. Seriously, Fernando? You're a college guy. How are you getting engaged with a 15-year-old? Though we never hear from him again in the movie, I really hope he had criminal charges pressed against him. This puts an immediate end to the vacation, and they begin to drive back home. It brings back a lot of memories of my siblings and I sitting in the car crying in silence after we got our asses handed to us by our parents. This road trip is also a very lengthy scene, but for some reason it's also entertaining. This movie in general has a slow burner vibe, but for that vibe, it actually moves pretty fast. It keeps you invested with your attention and does not sway away from the meaning of the film. It's not even 90 minutes long, so this slow burner vibe actually works. But alas, we reach the final 5 minutes of the movie, And let me tell you, the finale was nothing that I would have expected. I'm not comfortable showing you much else of that scene. Now, I have done a lot of exploring into dark films. I have watched a lot of disturbing movies, many dealing with sexual assault. But this one right here was one of the most disturbing rape scenes I have ever seen. It's not loud, no intense music, and it didn't last as long as some of the other important scenes in the movie. It still left me very uneasy in the stomach. To fully understand what I'm talking about, you would need to watch it on your own, though a heavy warning would be advised. And it's sad that this is how the movie comes to an end. But God, that was quite an impression. Now, with an explicit sexual assault scene in this film, it was bound to receive heavy backlash. The movie was banned upon its release in Canada, but according to an American film critic, he also said it was severely restricted to adult audiences throughout the world. The ban may have only lasted 2 years, but in other countries such as Ireland, they removed all sex scenes. But throughout time, the film has only been getting more and more praise, becoming more and more popular, and by 2004, it was included into the Criterion Collection. Pretty amazing accomplishment. And in this copy, apparently there's an alternate ending that I have not been able to find. It was not easy sitting through this movie, and it wouldn't be a movie that comes to mind if you want to watch something very dark. But if you consider yourself a movie fanatic, this is a must watch, I promise. Though in my opinion, this film deals strongly with the depressive life for an individual who doesn't seem to have the physical traits that the mainstream demands for. The meaning of this film runs much more deeper than that. This is also the story about two sisters, not just Anais. It depicts how hard it is for young women to begin exploring their sexuality. Director Catherine Breillat, who I'm 100% I mispronounced her name, sorry. Her films always involve a female in conflict with their sexuality. Outside of the studio, she's a very loud advocate for women's voices to be heard. She despises how the system makes women not allowed to express themselves or freely explore. The fact that they make women who want to have sex openly or find a man on their own terms to be viewed as immoral or radical, it really pisses her off. And on top of that, she believes that it makes it susceptible for them to be manipulated and sexually abused. Her style of film creating is definitely an acquired taste, but give her the chance and she will give you something you have never seen before. I'll be the first to say, this is a really fucked up movie, but then I'll add, it's a dark masterpiece. From the most experienced to the youngest of actors and actresses here, they were all fantastic, and really helped with what was such a subtle plot and playthrough get intense and emotional at the right times. These are the type of disturbing films that never get mentioned or praised. The director didn't put that much shock value in it, because it didn't need it. We ourselves are going to be the ones that create that for the movie, because of how realistic it is with its simplicity and tells a story that at some point in our lives we were in it too. We become very impressed when an important scene or a moment of a character development unfolds. I really like this film, and I hope it only gets more popular with time. Anyways guys, at the end of this video right here, I really hope you enjoyed the review to the fullest extent, and if you have an open mind and a strong stomach, seriously, give this movie a watch. It left an impression on me, and I have no doubt it will for you also. If you guys also don't mind hitting the like button and commenting down below, I'm always down to hear your guys' opinions. They mean the world to me, so don't be shy. Again, thank you so much for watching. Take it easy, take care, and I'll see you guys next time.